bring grave news.
What is it?
The peasants, they've mobilized.
Whatever do you mean? Show me.
Look,
Hot damn. Welcome to Deadbeat Devs, episode 2.
how's it
Fish.
going?
Yeah, how's it going? We will be talking today about a little bit of gaming, a little bit of ISP nonsense, just whatever we really feel like.
And for this episode, we're also going to be trying out a bit of a rapid-fire sequence at the end where we talk about very briefly some articles that we found that are pretty self-explanatory. You know, just reading the title, you pretty much understand what they're saying. If you want to know more about them, we're going to link the articles in the description below, so you can check them out if you want to.
Yep.
But yeah.
Without further ado, I say we reference that article we were talking about at the beginning. I personally am not very intrigued by this. But,
I could not stop laughing when I first saw this. It was I can't even.
Yeah, this is really a public service announcement to the members of the PC Master Race. Just look out. There may be peasants actually going places now, you know. I don't know.
I don't understand how you could take a $400 console, basically just add an LCD screen that folds, and then tack on $1,100.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll give credit to the guy. It's working, and it's a kind of cool hardware mod, but
I give him points for innovation. It's, you know.
Yeah. Whatever.
He reinvented the laptop that does less than a laptop.
I enjoy the part of the article where it points out that he's using a 720p LCD. And this is, I'm sure, for no other reason than the fact that the Xbox can't really power 1080. It wouldn't even really be able to use a 1080p monitor on most games. So, little stab there. Anyways,
moving on.
Oh, also this GIF, which sums up the
pretty much
console war.
In our view, or from the view of those of the PC Master Race, this is how we see it.
No, this is how it is.
Yeah.
All right, but time to talk about real stuff. Our first article we're talking about kind of links into the article we talked about last episode. It's about AT&T and Verizon defending data caps on home internet service. Now, for those of you totally not aware, for whatever reason, data caps, you just limits how much data you can use in a month. They're very popular on wireless plans, but your ISPs, specifically AT&T and Verizon, are looking to implement them on wired connections, broadband connections, which
is ridiculous.
Absolutely absurd. They're not broadband connections are not congested at all. Pretty much the only possible outcome from this is that the ISPs would make more money.
Which, of course, as we all know, is what they're all about.
Yeah. So essentially, you'll be given a stricter limit than what some of the ISPs provide. Say 150 to 250 gigs a month, and if for anyone that goes over that, you'll be paying a little bit extra. Well, some amount extra.
I mean,
we don't really know.
didn't the cell phone companies like T-Mobile and Sprint, didn't they kind of do away with stuff like that? Isn't this like...
Yeah.
Aren't they just kind of bringing back an old issue that we've already worked out that people don't like?
T-Mobile has kind of done away with that. They're kind of the cool hit mobile provider. Anyways, so this is just... I can't see it as anything else than like a last-ditch effort to try and get people to stop dropping their cable.
I don't see why you wouldn't drop your cable after something like that.
But yeah, something to look out for if you see that your ISPs are trying to implement stricter data caps or data caps at all. If you're in a place that doesn't have any, just there is something you can do about it. Fight back, write letters, get some people involved. You might have some luck. But moving on to our next article with a very solid picture. So it's kind of been an on-again, off-again story. Comcast wanting to buy Time Warner Cable, which is absolutely absurd. Comcast, who is, in recent memory, probably the largest monopoly ever in the U.S.
I don't think they have much of a problem with competitors.
No.
If there are competitors out there,
No, absolutely not. But, yeah, this article is just obscenely hilarious in just some of the things it mentions. I'm just going to go through a few. So, for instance, in this paragraph right here, we see, quote, Comcast also described a competitive threat from phone companies, which are upgrading to DSL to fiber and, quote, appear well-positioned to offer highly competitive broadband speeds well into the future. it's Comcast acknowledging, they have fiber. They can't upgrade to fiber optics. That's
That's
bad
absurd.
for us.
No. Why would we want to do that? We want to make money. We don't want to spend it.
Them over there. Stop them from upgrading the network.
That's not fair. They're going to be better than us
Yeah.
and make more money than us. No one else can do that.
Yeah. So while they have the money to squash them, they're looking to. It's saying that they're scared of municipal fiber, which, I mean, granted they should be.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is really just a comedy paper. Take a look at it and educate yourself, have a good laugh. But reading through this, I was kind of asking myself, how do companies like Bell, which got totally broken up for being monopolistic, and Microsoft, even got looked at for being monopolistic, And granted, they were pretty bad, but how is it that Comcast, who is at least as bad, if not worse than that?
I would definitely say worse.
Probably worse. How is it that they're not being inspected?
Well, there's a very simple answer to that. They did something that Bell and Microsoft probably didn't think of doing or just didn't do. They bought Congress.
They grease the right pockets. Senators opposing net neutrality rake in more campaign cash.
What else is new?
So, TLDR, senators, by and large Republicans, are supporting Comcast, AT&T, the other ISPs, and they're taking in roughly 40 to 50% more campaign cash provided by these companies.
Politics.
This could have even been in the quick fire. I mean, there's not really too much else to say about it. Just to highlight, I mean, they highlighted Mitch McConnell as someone, a Republican senator who is especially guilty of this, taking extra money from the ISPs. Just take a look at it. Keep this in mind that your senators can be and are being bought and paid for.
What was it you said about how the senators should be NASCAR labeled, where they should have to wear the jackets of their sponsors?
Yeah, so there's a comment in this article that I found pretty funny. Someone saying that they should have, Mitch McConnell should have to have Comcast patch sewn on the back of his jacket before he comes into the Senate floor. Which, I mean, that would really put some clarity
and perspective on where your money is really going.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, where your political support is really going.
Yeah, it's your money also,
Yeah, your money too.
As a Comcast customer, is just being used to buy these senators. I hope you feel good.
So I mean, if you are a Comcast customer and you do like these senators, then by all means, stay with Comcast, because you're also supporting your senator that way too.
Yeah. Well, again, the issue, not anything surprising, but you don't really have a choice.
When Comcast is the only service in town, which they make sure they are.
Yeah, and it's difficult. I will say, playing devil's advocate here, it is difficult for a broadband provider or cable provider to set up in a new town. If someone's already established in the town, it's almost impossible, pretty much not worth it.
Yeah.
To start trying to lay your own
not without a
down
lot of capital to depend upon until you can get your business started.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big company like Comcast, they could do it, but especially for smaller people, it's very difficult. It's going to be several years until you actually break even. So that's the reason why, if you weren't aware, these cable companies don't exactly compete against each other. It's not necessarily because there were a few shady backroom dealings. Not to say that hasn't happened. 'Cause it definitely has.
Oh yeah.
But there's also a practical a practical limitation to where you can really lay out your network to compete against each other. So just keep that in mind. But yeah,
it's food for thought.
Yeah. So just remember, ISPs. If they're good, they're good. But if they're Comcast, they're bad. Just keep an eye on them. Make sure they're not doing skeevy things with your money, because it's
chances are they are.
Yeah. But
moving on
to more fun stuff. Steven actually found this article.
Yeah,
so
I found this article pretty entertaining. It was, well, first of all, ask yourself this question: would you clone your mind to live forever?
Not you, but someone who acts almost exactly like you.
Basically, a copy of your mind would then live on in your place. Would you do you think that highly of yourself, where you think your mind is so important that it should go on even after you cannot?
Yeah, my dying shouldn't get in the way of my existence. Yeah, so
It's basically some scientists have developed an artificial intelligence that what they plan to do is have it read what they call mind files, which would be compilation, yeah, air quotes, mind files,
laser beam.
which would basically scan you, like these compilations of files from, say, your Facebook account, whether it be profile pictures or statuses you posted, your Twitter posts, your Instagram pictures of all your food, and would then use that data to then essentially become you, like to think like you, and be an exact copy of your mind. And then, they say they would have a cyber psychologist then analyze this AI to determine if it really is an exact copy of you.
Yeah, I mean, my conclusion kind of on this is, I feel like we would just have a bunch of annoying ass robots always taking pictures of their food. I don't necessarily think your pictures and your posts on Twitter and Facebook, especially depending on how much you use them, is.
Well, I think
really
that is the factor. Is if you're the type of person that they probably hope you are, you're the type of person that will literally post every single thought you have as soon as you have it, so that your mind really is right out there for them to look at. But
Yeah.
if you're like Alex here, who barely even touches his Facebook profile, then
It's iffy. Yeah, interesting idea. I don't know how practical it is. I think immortality is going to come more in the ways of actually biological immortality, or at least extending your
human
lifespan.
life.
Yeah, I mean, people living to 200 years old is not going to be that ridiculous. I think a couple decades into the future.
That would be nice.
Yeah. There are actually some people that say, it's a little side note, don't know where I read this, but there are people that say that there are people living right now that will either not die of natural causes, technically become immortal.
Wow.
So they're still gonna die probably through some horrific accident, but hey.
Accident, disease, just not their body conking out on them.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
But yes, so for those of you who are mildly interested in hardware and have been living under a rock, we're gonna talk a little bit about the 970 980, the newest hardware out from NVIDIA.
And their 900 series.
Yeah, it's based upon Maxwell GPU. Pretty cool. It's a lot more efficient. The 970 actually only has 2 6-pins, and if you can look at power benchmarks, and it's uses way less power than a 780 or 780 Ti. It's absurd. So that's really cool. It'll help it run a lot slower, not slower, run a lot cooler.
Cooler.
Maybe a little bit better for overclocking.
Yep.
And actually, some exciting news.
Do you want to tell them, or should I? Well, I have recently just purchased all the components I will be needing for a new gaming PC that I'll be putting together, and what I'm really excited is that I ordered a 970 myself, so that will be something for a future video where we unbox it, show it to you guys, run some best benchmarks, some tests, see how it stands up to Alex's 780.
Yeah, so we got benchmarks coming, and we'll do a full build guide also.
Oh yeah, for those of you that are also considering building a PC, or maybe you just don't think you can afford it, maybe you just don't think that you could do it even if you had all the parts, it's very simple. We'll do a complete walkthrough of how to put it all together.
It's like Legos. Alright, do the clap.
Sure.
It's time for rapid fire. We're going to throw out a few headlines of a few articles that we don't really care to expound upon. So without further ado,
The headline says it all.
Maven, the NASA Mars orbiter, entered orbit last Sunday. Pretty cool. It's slated to study the atmosphere of Mars for the next few years. Good stuff.
Happy birthday, Nintendo! The Japanese developer just turned 125 yesterday. This article's a day old. For those of you that don't believe it, yes, Nintendo is 125. They were founded in 1889 as a trading card company originally.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
Alibaba raises over $21 billion, making the largest IPO ever in the U.S. Yes, Alibaba went public in the U.S. for $21 billion. I would be very afraid, Amazon. Very afraid.
Blizzard just killed off Titan 7 years into development. What's Titan, you ask? Well, no one really knew. Apparently, it was rumored to be their next big MMO to replace World of Warcraft, or to at least just take the spotlight away from it.
WoW expansions. Microsoft laid off 2,100 more employees. Good job, Microsoft. Good job. That's after 13,000 earlier this year. So
great job. You guys are really helping the
Yeah.
business world.
yeah, it's mostly those old Nokia employees, but
Yeah.
it sucks to be them.
And that finishes off Rapid Fire segment. And now for the last part of the show, our media recommendation of the week.
This week, we recommend that you check out a Bideo game called Divinity Dragon Commander. What is Divinity Dragon Commander? That's a good question. Well, what it is, it's a RTS style game in which you, as a part man, part dragon, have to wrest control of the rest of the world from your evil brothers and sisters. Intriguing stuff.
That's an interesting family we got there.
Yeah. So the reason you play this game is not necessarily for the RTS elements, which I don't frankly find to be very polished.
They're all right. I mean, it is an RTS. It has the basic elements of an RTS.
It is playable,
Yes.
but the reason you really play this game is for the dialogue.
Oh
It
yeah.
is, by far the best dialogue I think I've ever experienced in any game.
The voice acting in that game is just spot on, perfect. The dialogue is just so well written.
Yeah.
The
so
characters are very very unique. They
Yeah,
each have their own personalities. They're
I'd usually find myself auto-resolving the actual RTS missions just so I can get back to the hub world and talk to the NPCs. So, pretty much, when you go back to this hub world, you'll have access to talk to some generals, your generals that are helping you in the war, and your counselors who help you with social issues, because as Emperor, you also have to decide social issues. So, they'll ask your opinion on things like, very modern topics, by the way, essentially marijuana legalization, although they call it something else.
it's a different. It's basically just drug use, same-sex
Yeah.
marriage, everything else.
The best one by far is the imps, who are very big into explosives and technology. That's kind of their thing. They ask your permission as Emperor. Basically, they found that the cremated remains of elves serve as an excellent explosive. So they ask your permission to dig up old elven burial sites, harvest this, and to put it into bombs. Now, obviously, the elves are against this, and pretty much everyone else. They think it's a terrible idea. I gave them the go-ahead in my game.
Oh,
and
that earned you a lot of points with all the other races, didn't it?
No, but it's kind of cool. It does actually affect your the gameplay. You do end up building better technology.
How your citizens react to your policies.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Definitely never played a game exactly like it, but definitely recommend you check it out if you're at all interested. It's probably pretty cheap, like $10-15 on Steam. Give it a look. Watch some YouTube videos. I'll link a good one if I find it. But yeah.
And that's the end of the show.
Yeah, and Deadbeat Devs episode 2. That is
Thanks
it.
for sticking with us.
Yep. So keep a lookout for that computer build and unboxing of a few of the parts. It's gonna come up. We're gonna do 970 benchmarks, and it's gonna be a great time.
Oh yeah.
Lots of exciting stuff on the channel.
So anyway, if you like this video, give it a like. If you want to see more content from us, hit that subscribe button. And with that, we are the Deadbeat Devs, signing off.